Please, it is scam. Blue badge at FF Adejumo. That's the genuine one. Tonight I have in the studio one of the beautiful ladies, gifted. Sweetie, and I see you. You know I always see you. Thank you. This world with has story. It's evergreen. And some of you will be meeting her for the first time. It's my I know I see you. So welcome, Mrs. Ayo Megbope. I love this. Welcome, Mrs. Megbope. Glad to have you here. Oh, see how beautiful she is.
Thank you, Ma. Good evening, Ma. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. It's a global tribe. People have joined us from different parts of the world. Yeah. And some are still joining us from everywhere. It's a powerful tribe. But can you imagine? This is Japan. This is Megbope. Can you imagine? We have them in Kenya, Zambia, Sierra Leone, different parts of the world. We're grateful tonight. Thank you so very much. I trust your family is doing very well.
Very well. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you, Ma.
Appreciate it. You see, I told you she's there. So send the link because we're starting right. Instagram and FF Radio, Clubhouse, XLR, book, everything is working perfectly well. Please join us. Facebook, the X-Men are here. They're going to fix it. Don't worry. Yeah. So, welcome once more, Mrs. Megbope. We kick off. We hit the ground running. Please tell us, are you Megbope? A lot of people are arriving and they don't know their background. It's one of the reasons why people like you, so we can navigate with you. The turns, the twists are your people.
Thank you once again, Mom, for having me. This is the second time, and I do not take it for granted. I'm truly honored. And I say good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon to everybody. It's exciting to be on the platform. Mommy has introduced me. My name is Ayodeji Megbope, and I'm an entrepreneur. My journey as an entrepreneur started 15 years ago. Wasn't planned, but God had mercy on me. God had mercy on me. I had a lot of things not going the way I desired. But, at the time when I was going to start my business, I was actually just tired. I was exhausted. Exhaustion is what I felt at that time. I was exhausted because I was going to be 40. And I could not record anything I had done as successful. At that time, I was working in Corona Philippines. I was working as a secretary. I had worked there for 9 years. And I was grateful. I was married. I had 2 children. But there was just this void in my heart. There was that void that kept me wondering, what legacy am I leaving behind? Who am I? I really could not, stay who I was.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yes.
Before you go into your business, I want to know who you are. Who are you? Where are you coming from? First of 5 children, or until you got into business. With people that may feel, oh, father just dumped business. But who are you? Tell us your background. It's going to help us. I'm so sorry to.
No problem, ma'am. I am the second of 5 children. I started rather poorly, not because I wasn't intelligent, but I had a lot of issues that nobody knew about. I had a lot of dark secrets. And one of the dark secrets is that, or was that, I was abused. I was abused by my uncle. And the abuse started as young as, I think it was 5 or 6. and nobody knew about it. I was constantly threatened that if I told anybody I was going to be killed. I honestly didn't know what was happening to me at that time. And all of that, destabilized me, affected my academics and everything. And I began to blame myself because I wasn't the only daughter. We're three, and I began to blame myself that there must have been something wrong with me that made me the victim in the hands of my predator. So all of that affected me. I remember coasting through secondary school, coasting through primary school, going into secondary school, finishing my school third. And my first attempt at my school third, I had 4 credits, and I think I had F9 in math. My father was a bit excited that, because he didn't expect that I would even come out with 4 credits. But he said to me, so if you can come out with 4 credits with this your competitive attitude, if you do it again, you will come out with flying colors also. So he insisted that I did my school certificate. At that time, my father was a civil engineer, my mother was a full-time housewife, wonderful woman. And so I did my school certificate. The second time, I had 1 pass, and in all the other subjects I had F9. My father was completely frustrated. My mother, she just kept saying to me that I'd always known it, that, this is the path you have chosen to follow. So my father was very upset, and I remember that when I got home with my result that day, he said to me, step out of the house now. Go and think about what you want to do with your life. And that was exactly what I did. I left the house that day, and when we were living in Mission, I was roaming around the streets of moving what was I going to do with my life? What was I going to do with my life? And I remember passing by typing and shorthand school. And I looked up, I saw the signage of the school, and I saw after I got in, I realized that the man I saw was the proprietor of the school. So I went to make inquiries. And I said, oh yes, no, that was typing and shorthand. He did some tests for me, and I passed the test. And I remember going home, showing my father the script of the test, the results of the test. And my father just shook his head. He said, you have such great opportunity that you disposal, but you have chosen to go down the ladder. You have chosen to go for the lift. Don't you know that you're more than this? I didn't care. All that mattered to me was that I had found something to do. And that was how I started. I started attending that typing and shorthand school. I was in that typing and shorthand school for over a year. And somehow I began to be serious. And my father said, okay, it looks as if you are beginning to get some sense of direction for your life. And then my father took me to a secretarial school. I went for the secretarial school. I did my OND. I did some external exams. Those who studied at secretaries, Pitman, RSA, and all of that.
Ayo, I'm sorry. I'm going because you are cracking. We can't really hear you. You're cracking. So please leave and come back in. Fantastic. This is getting beautiful. That your back is on the ground. Look at what this lady has been through. She said she was raped at the age of 5. And that affected everything about. So when she wrote her exam in high school, she had F9 in mathematics. That's a failure. And then 4, she didn't hear some part. And 4 credits to write the exam. Nobody knew what she was going through at that time. Because people are saying that you're cracking and then your voice is low. So increase the volume. So look at it. And she's a survivor. Remember, this is Navigate with FFA. Life has turns. That's bring special people like this. So you know that it's possible to rise up again. It's possible again. Thank you so much for being vulnerable to share that part of your life with us. Yes. Okay. So please continue.
Okay. Thank you. I hope it's Better? Can my voice be heard
Yeah,
better? Okay, okay,
fantastic.
okay. Thank you, ma. All right. So I was able to finish my secretarial administration, and from there I started work. I was still second guessing myself a lot. I was haunted by the different experiences I had had. Not only was I experienced abuse as a child, I had also been bullied in school. I had been bullied so many times, all because I was trying to belong. I just wanted to belong. I just wanted to be loved. I wanted to be accepted because I really couldn't share what I had gone through with people. So, I had all of that covered and I tried. I couldn't even identify who I was. I didn't know what my strengths were. I just wanted to be loved by people. And so I made a lot of mistakes. I had boyfriends who abused me, and got to a point when I said to myself, my life has to have meaning. Even though I didn't know what that was all about, I encountered Jesus. I remember giving my life to Christ when I was in my final year in the secretarial school. And that, of course, started another journey for me. And my first place of work was in a manufacturing company. I was a secretary there for a few years. And a few years after I got married. Getting married was a leap in life, was a huge step, was a ladder that God gave me, because God gave me a man that believed in me. One of the things I learned, even as I gave my life to Christ, was to be authentic self. And so I knew that this part of me, the part of abuse, was really going to be an impediment to my joy, especially in the area of marriage. I had learned what marriage was all about. And so I knew that, look, if I was going to marry anybody, I needed to tell the person what I'd been through, because you never know who would hear anything. I never knew how what I had gone through would affect me in marriage. So I remember telling my husband now of almost 30 years what I had gone through. And he simply looked at me and said to me, Ayo, that's an old you. This is a new you. I don't care what your past has been. He said he appreciated the fact that I was telling him what I'd gone through, but he also encouraged me that, look, that's your past and let's just face the future. That was the first person that would really look at me, see me in my raw state, and tell me that he really did believe in me. And that helped me a great deal. And so, even though we got married, we started having our children, I still had this joy. I still was second guessing myself in different areas. I was struggling to have an identity. I was struggling to know who I was. I would have feelings that, oh, I'm supposed to be a bearer of burdens. I'm supposed to be a helper to people. But then I would ask myself, how can I help people when I myself have not been helped? I remember growing up, I would stand in front of my mirror in my room, and I would dance and dance and dance because I had dreams. I would have dreams of me standing before a huge crowd, addressing a huge crowd. But my reality was saying nothing, showed no such thing would happen. But I found solace in my room. I found solace in front of the mirror. And there were a few times my mother would stumble into my room and see me doing all of that. And she would be very upset with me. And she would always tell me that, because that was the best she could understand. She said to me that, Ayo, you have spiritual issues. And I didn't understand. And there were times I would want to stop, but the dreams kept coming, and I found joy just standing in front of the mirror to express myself. So fast forward. I don't know if that's enough about myself, Mom.
Oh, oh my God, fantastic. Are you using an earpiece?
Yes, I am. Is it affecting the sound?
Yes, your hair is beating it. Is it possible to? Hello? Is it
okay
better?
now?
Okay. Can you
Am I better?
so we can hear without?
Now I can't even hear you.
Oh, you can't hear us? Also breaking?
I'm struggling to hear you. Can you hear me, Ma? You can hear me. I can see you nod, but I cannot hear you. Can you say something, Ma?
There is still a sound coming from your
Yes,
end.
but I'm supposed to be able to hear you. I can't hear you. What do I do?
Go out, come back in.
Can you hear me?
And remove your ear.
I've removed
Yes,
my
we can
air.
Okay. This is amazing. The comments, and I'm happy that people are being inspired. I'm so happy been through. And you're going to see how far God has brought her. And I believe that because God is taking her to another level. See what she's been through. See what she did. See where she is.
I can hear you now.
You can hear me. I'm clear now.
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay. Fantastic. This is amazing. Thank you, Ayo, for sharing this with us. It's helping a lot of people. Can you hear me? Is it breaking? I'll ask you the next question. I will give it to your husband. God bless him. Blessing people, blessing him. Somebody said he's a real man. That's our tribe is proud of him, and that he's an example. Ayo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, ma.
Okay, fantastic. Now we're going to your business life. You are a highly successful business and an inspiration to many. How did you get money to start your business?
Thank you, ma. So I worked as a secretary for 20 years. And like I said earlier, my last place of work was Corona School Ikoyi. I was very happy working in Corona all those 9 years. But I got to a point where when I was going to be 40, and I was suddenly dissatisfied. I was suddenly uncomfortable. I was suddenly hungry for more. And I was tempted to ignore that feeling because there was nothing else to do. Number one, at that time, I didn't have a university for education. And so that was something I was terribly ashamed of, something that I was terribly intimidated over. So I was almost tempted to say, you know what, let me just stay here. A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. That was what I was tempted to say. But the dissatisfaction would not go. I kept being very, very uncomfortable. And I said to myself, of course, like I said, I had become a Christian. Not only had I become a Christian, I had become a pastor's wife. But also, I found out that, look, your joy in life is not in the titles you bear. I found out that your joy in life is, being able to identify your purpose. And even at 40, I couldn't identify my purpose. I felt that I was just doing things for other people. I was doing things to make other people happy. Yes, I was a wife, I was a mother, but I just knew there was more. And so I decided to leave Corona. It was a tough decision to me. But again, thank God for my husband. My husband, I shared my dream. Did I have a dream? But I just told him that I was not satisfied where I was. Okay, so of course, the first thing he asked me is, what do you want to do? I honestly did not know what I wanted to do. But I looked back and I felt, and I realized that I'd really enjoyed working in Corona for those 9 years. And I said, okay, let me open a daycare center. So that was the vision initially. And my husband agreed with me, and we trusted God. I went for this Montessori training when I resigned with more than what Corona had paid me as as what they were giving me when I was leaving. But when I finished that program, when I finished that Montessori program, I found out that there was still a void. And I was very ashamed to tell anybody. But thank God, two people knew that I was leaving Corona. Well, a few people knew, but the two people I considered deeply when I was leaving were my husband and my father. My father, because I needed him to give me an apartment in one of his properties to start the daycare center. And my father obliged. He said, yes, that's fine. He said, I'll support you all the way. But when I finished the training, I was still dissatisfied. And I told my husband, and my husband said, look, Ayo, there's nothing to be ashamed about. You've learned to be your authentic self. And so if you still have this feeling of dissatisfaction, you have to keep searching. That means that there's something for you. And so I sat back. I didn't proceed. I told my father, okay, I wasn't ready for the school. Even one of the things they promised me, wasn't ready to do it at that time because life happened. And at that point also, I realized that, look, there's no point being upset with anybody because that person promised to do something for you and that person cannot do it. And so I sat back at home. I had gone for the Montessori training. I started teaching children. I started doing home lessons. I remember I had the first two children I had were paying me 15,000 per month. So 15,000 per child. So I was earning 30,000 naira. And so I remember there was a day, that period, the children went on holiday. So there was no child to teach. And my husband and I did not have any money. We didn't have any food in the house. And I simply went to my husband to tell him that, look, there's really no food in the house. And he gave me 1,000 naira. That day I was so upset because my husband had become a pastor. That alone was really, really something we struggled over. I remember when he said he was going to Bible school, I said to him, are you sure God called you? I said, I don't want to suffer. We suffered enough. And he said he was sure God called him. So when we were down to our last 1,000 naira, it also happened at a time when he had also taken a move, made a major shift, made a major move from ministry. He said God was telling him to move on in ministry. We were in a particular church, and he said God was telling him to move on. And I was like, how can you on earth do this? But somehow the Holy Spirit, the journey of all those years just kept me still. And I must add here that when I didn't know what to do, I had an encounter with the scripture, Isaiah chapter 60. I began to confess Isaiah chapter 60 from verse 1 to 22 every day. There were times I wondered how Isaiah chapter 60 would manifest in my life, but the Holy Spirit encouraged me to continue. And so that day I went to him, he gave me 1,000 naira. I felt like crying. I really did cry, but I felt like speaking words to him. But God held me back against speaking those words. And he went to church that day, and I went to the office. I went to the market. I went to the market and I made moi moi for the family to eat. And God was so faithful. My sister-in-law paid me a visit on that day. And honestly, Mom, I must acknowledge my sister-in-law in the person of Mrs. Olufun Toigun. She has been a tremendous blessing. She's a sister-in-law. She's my husband's older sister. She paid us a visit that day. And she tasted the moi moi and she requested, she said, Ayo, this is nice. Can you make for me? That was how it started. With 1,000 naira. I said to her, yes, I paid you 1,000 naira. Just give me 1,000 naira and I will make for you. That was how this business of 15 years started. She gave me that 1,000 naira. I made moi moi for her the next day. She took home, her friend tasted it, and her friend wanted more. And she simply said to her friend, no, I can't have more. My sister-in-law made it. Give me 1,000 naira, I'll send to her and she'll make for you. That was how No Leftovers started. Oh, I can't hear Mommy. Wow. Am I the only one that can't hear you, Mommy? Wow. Can others hear you? I can't hear Mommy. Or should I exit and come back in? Okay, I'll exit and come back in.
Okay, we are back. Thank you. Oh, jeez.
Sorry, mommy.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma. Oh, wow.
Fantastic. 1,000 naira. I don't want to interrupt you again. Please go ahead with your story. So how did you get
Okay.
1,000 naira? Woo.
Okay, so thank you, mommy. So that was how that was how the business started. So the business started with that, my sister-in-law, and then from there, my neighbors. I mean, so I was so excited when my sister-in-law sent that 1,000 naira. And then I took some of the moi moi that I had made for her and ran down to my neighbor and said to her to taste. My neighbor tasted it and she was so excited. She ran up to me and she said, please, where did you buy this moi moi from? I said, the factory is in this house. She was excited. She gave me 1,000 naira, and that was how I got courage. I said, oh, if these two people really did love my moi moi, then others will. The next familiar environment that I had was the church. I was a pastor's wife. That required a lot of wisdom. How does a pastor's wife turn up and say she's a moi moi seller? I had never heard it anywhere. But I said to God, God, give me wisdom. And I remember that particular day when we went to church. My husband said to everybody, say hello to your neighbor. And as soon as somebody came to me, I said, I have moi moi in the car. The children started coming to me to say, hello, mommy. I said, tell your mommy, pastor has moi moi in the car. That was how the church embraced my moi moi. After a while, I found out that my sales in church was dwindling. I was tempted to begin to second guess myself again, because that voice that used to tell me that people don't like you was beginning to sneak in again to tell me that they're not patronizing you because they don't like you. But I had learned through the word of God to begin to believe in myself and to know who I am. And so I just knew that if this is happening, that means that God has a bigger door for me. I ignored all the no patronage or low patronage I was experiencing with the church, and I went back to God and said, God, so where do I go? God said, yes, you've come to me again, so I'm going to show you where to go. I said, God, where do I go? God said, go to the gate of Corona School and begin to tell this woman. When I heard that voice, I felt it was so humiliating. I was beginning to be confused. I said, is this God? How can God tell me to do such a humiliating thing? I left Corona and told all of them I was going to open my school. Have I fancy me turning up in Corona with a cooler of moi moi and saying, how do I even go about it? And I heard the still small voice of God saying to me, it is I. I'm going to do a great thing through your life. And I humbled myself. Mommy, it took me a lot of humbling myself. I humbled myself and I turned up at the gates. I knew the drill at Corona. I knew that the gates of the gates of the school will be flung open to parents at 2 o'clock. So I positioned myself. at the gate. And as soon as parents were coming out of the school with their children, I do not know where the energy came from. I do not know where the courage came from. I just found myself beginning to shout at the top of my voice, moi moi for sale, moi moi for sale, buy this moi moi, your life will not remain the same again. I had said it, I popped out of my mouth before I even realized, and I found myself beginning to dance. And then I saw, before I even started shouting, I saw two of my friends who had told me before I left Corona that, Ayo, don't go, your husband is just a pastor, and he's not even a big pastor, he's just a small pastor in a ministry. Just stay where you are. They were the first set of parents that were coming out, and I think that was what gave me courage. I said, no, attack is the best form of defense. Let me shout moi moi for sale before they come to ask me, what are you doing here? And of course, by the time they came, that was exactly what they did. They shook me. They said, Ayo, what are you doing? What exactly do you think you're doing? You're hawking moi moi at the gate of Corona? I began to dance. I said, this moi moi is not the moi moi you know. It's a different type of moi moi. The joy that filled my heart and my soul was inexplainable. I began to dance, and of course, I was a spectacle. People came to buy for different reasons. Some came to buy because they felt sorry for me. Some came to buy because they were curious, and some came to buy because they really found my situation very hilarious. But that did not deter me. I sold everything at that gate on that day. The next day I was there. The next day after I was there, and somehow I began to see the manifestation of Isaiah chapter 60. My perception began to change. As soon as they would come to me, I said, yeah, these are the Gentiles coming to my life. Of course, you don't have people who don't have money sending their children to Corona School. And so I began to envision them as the kings that are coming to the brightness of my rising. As they came, I continued to speak the word. That was how I got courage. And I was there for 3 months. And then the season changed. I've learned that seasons don't last forever. even the good seasons, they don't last, because God will give us a better season. Now, I've come to believe through the word of God that says that the path of the righteous is a shining light that shines bright and bright unto the perfect day, that my path has no choice but to shine. And so even when it looks as if it is dark, bleak, gloomy, and there's no way out, I choose to see it as an ascension. I choose to see it as God saying, pause, because I want to take you to another level. And so at that gate, I began to experience different things. I remember that people would come to me and say, okay, Mama, if you can do Mama, you can do jollof rice. I began to do all of that. And then one day, a woman came to me, do edikaikong for me. And I remember God said, as long as it is food, don't say no to anybody. I wondered how I would do that edikaikong. And the Lord said, say yes. I had said yes before I knew what I was saying. And the woman said, how much? I said, don't worry. Let me just do this edikaikong. Taste it, and then you'll see. I went home that day, ma. I said, Holy Spirit, so what do we do? And the Lord led me to the market beside my house. He said, and as soon as I got to the market, he showed me a woman. I said, go to the woman. The woman was selling ugu, crayfish, and all of that and all of that. And I said to her, madam, I want to cook edikaikong. I said, why are you telling me what you want to cook? Buy what you want to buy. Guess what, ma? I said to the woman, please, I don't know how. Please, I want to cook edikaikong. She said, let him do you. Why you can't they look like somebody with desperate like this? I became teary. She said, why you they cry, my pikin? Oh, she concluded on her own. She said, you be Yoruba? I said, I'm Yoruba. He said, I think you marry Kalabama. I said, Mama. They said, make her cook edikaikong. She said, I remember Mama clapping her hands and saying, my pikin, no worry. Mama day here for you. I could teach you. She and edikaikong, they say, make you cook. Oh yeah, you get paper. I said, Mama, I get paper. They write time. Mom, that was how I learned to cook edikaikong. I took the edikaikong to the woman the next day. Of course, I did at the first of the initially I didn't give her a price. After I had gotten the ingredients, I marked up, I gave her the price. She tasted it and she ran back to me, said, wow, madam, you're amazing. Cook afang for me. I said, Holy Ghost. I ran back to Mama. I said, Mama, they said, make her cook afang. I said, Mama, I said, no, why can't they cry? You know, they shake body like this. I didn't hear for you. That's how I didn't go to catering school, man. Mama taught me edikaikong, taught me afang, taught me oha and all the soups. And then one day, I encountered a woman. Normally, every day I greet this woman, she doesn't answer me. But that day, that woman passed by. She came to pick her children. Normally, when she comes to pick her children, she comes with her uglies, she comes with her, police security and all of that. That day, there was no security with this woman. And I just remember Jesus with this Samaritan woman at the well. I said, this woman does not have her people with her. And this woman answered me for the first time. Actually, she answered me. I jumped. I said, wow, this woman answered me. I ran to her. She looked at me and she had a very not nice attitude. But you see, Mom, I had learned at that gate that whether somebody says yes or no to you does not define you. Whether the person smiles at you or does not smile at you doesn't determine your future. And so I chose not to look at how because she looked at me and said, yes, so I see you every time at this gate. So what exactly do you do? I said, good afternoon, ma. I said, moi moi, I cook jollof rice. I had learned courage. I had learned not to be ashamed. I had learned that really there's dignity in labor. I had learned that, look, it is when you are doing something that does not bring about productivity that you are ashamed. I learned that, look, when you are diligent, when you're offering a service, when you have value to offer, there's no need to be ashamed. And so I told this man what I was doing. And she said to me, oh, really? I wish I could help you because you look like a very, very diligent person. I see you at this gate every time. When it rains, I see you. When it's sunny, I see you. I see you sweating and you're selling. I wish I could help you, but I don't think so. Are you Yoruba? I said, yes, ma. You know, that same question, Yoruba again. I said, yes, ma'am, Yoruba. She said, actually, I said, what do you say you can't help me? Help me, ma. She said, oh, the reason I said that is because I have an all-service firm and we are majorly Igbos and Calabars in my all-service firm. We are looking for a caterer, but we need a caterer who knows how to cook our soups, our edikaikongs, our afangs, our white soup. I said, I said, ma, I went to the University of Soups. She said, you don't mean it. I said, ma, a minute. I can cook any soup. She said, okay, here's my card. Go to my office tomorrow. Go and see my HR manager. And let's see what she has to say to you. The next day, I went to her HR manager. And her HR manager said, oh, yes, madam told me you're coming. Okay, you know what? We give you money. Cook for all staff. And we're 100 here. Here's what, this is how much we're going to give you. You just use what we have given you to cook for everybody. Mama, I cooked for the staff the next and everybody was shouting, "We want no leftovers, we want no leftovers." That was how I serviced this company for 3 years. From that job, I bought my first car. I learned what no university could have taught me. I learned what nobody could have taught me. I learned what only God could have taught me. In that office, in that organization, I learned people management. I learned a lot of things. And while I was serving them, the Lord said to me again, He said, are you satisfied? I said, God, I'm not satisfied. I want more. He said, what do you want? I said, Lord, you know, of all my siblings, I'm the only one that didn't go to university. Lord, you know that it's not that I'm not smart. You know what happened to me? God said, okay, if you ask, you will receive. Keep on looking out. And I kept looking out. Guess what happened, Mama? One day I was just looking through the pages of a newspaper and I saw an advert that an American company, Goldman Sachs, was coming into Nigeria. And the caption of the advert says, look, are you a businesswoman? Do you lack business skills? Have you been running a business for 6 months? We're looking for you. I said, I ran to my husband with the newspaper. I said, Dad, can you see this opportunity? It looks like it's for me. But all of a sudden, I now saw that they were going to do it in conjunction with the Lagos Business School. I said, and sorry, with the enterprise, Lagos Pan-Atlantic University. As soon as I saw that, I said, Femi, I said, they won't take me. My husband said, why would they take you? I said, can't you see? They're doing it in conjunction with the university. I don't have a university degree. They will not take me. My husband said, who told you? You stop second-guessing yourself. You're again second-guessing yourself. He said, the God that has seen you from 1,000 naira to this point, at that point, I had started saying, I mean, the company I was cooking for were paying me every month. So I began to see what millions looked like. My husband said, see, the Lord that has seen you through. With this company, you've bought a car, you've done this, He will see you through. Go. Mom, that was how I applied. I applied for this program, and I remember that program. As they interviewed me, they said to me, oh, you're just selling more. This opportunity is going to turn people's lives around. They're looking for people who have mega businesses. Are you sure if they invest in you, that they can be returned on their investment? I said, they invest in me, there will be return on their investment. They said, you sound very desperate. I said, I'm desperate. I'm desperate for a change. I've sat at the bottom for too long. This is not where I belong. This is not where I belong. Help me. I can't do it. Just invest in me. That was how they gave the opportunity. They said, you know, to show that we were really committed to the program. The program was 600 and something thousand. They said we would have to show commitment by paying 60,000. Mama, I did not have that 60,000. I went to them. I said, I beg you, now that you have taken me, please, this 60,000, can I pay it 3 times? Can I pay 3 times? 20,000. They looked at me again. I was tearful. They said, "You are pay 3 times." That was how I went through this program for 6 months. I remember my first day on the program. Mama, I saw my name. They had set, the room was set. Everybody, there were placards of your names. I saw my name. I saw a folder. I saw EDC, Enterprise for Development Center. I carried the folder. I went to the toilet. I called my husband. I said, Femi, I'm in class. Femi, I'm in university. I cried. Femi, I'm in university. I also said, calm down, behave yourself. That's how you be crying. You not go and lay. You don't understand what they are teaching you. I calmed down. I said, I'm going to learn. In that class, I saw that I saw that nobody had 2 heads, Mama. I heard women's stories, same story as mine. I said, nobody. I said, it's not written. Failure is not written on anybody's face. It's me that has been carrying failure on the top of my head all these years. I said, failure is not written on anybody's face. I sat down. There were things I did not understand. I remember there were times I would cry. I said, this math again. I don't understand this math. I would cry in class. I said, God, will I ever graduate? I would come home. My husband said, no, tell me, Ayo, you can do it. I thank God for my husband, after Jesus, my greatest cheerleader. He would say, Ayo, you can do it. Go back to class. Mom, that was how I graduated after 6 months. It looks as if nothing will take place. And on the day of graduation, the director said, I want 3 women who will share their stories. At that point, Mom, I had known like never before what it meant to be my authentic self. Not to form, not to pretend, just to be myself. And the director said, we need 3 women who will share their stories. I didn't raise up my hand. Then he looked at me and said, I want you to share your story. I said, Mr. Banky, they are Americans. The Nigerians are struggling to still understand my English. How come me will not speak before Americans? Said, Ayo, whatever you want to speak, speak it. You're going to share your story. And I went to God. My husband was at that program. I told my husband said, don't look at anybody, Ayo. Just be looking at me. I'll sit in the middle of this hall. Just be looking at me as you talk. I said, okay. I went to the bathroom. I prayed. I said, God, what do I say? The Lord said to me, glorify in your infirmities. Said, glory in your infirmities. Tell them how you started. And that was how it went. Was my turn. I stood before the crowd. I refused to look at anybody but my husband. I said, because he just sat, my husband, if you know my husband, your mom, you know him, he's very quiet. He was just sat down like this and kept nodding. Go girl. It was thumbs up. Keep going. And I said, I'm a woman who knew nothing. I failed so many times. I was a woman who said, I've toiled all night but caught nothing. But here, check me out. Now I know what benchmarking is all about. I know what strategy is all about. I know what branding is all about. And I could not believe it as the crowd roared in joy, applause, and everybody was like, oh my God, keep going, keep going. When I finished, the Americans came to meet me in that hall. Ayo, you are amazing. I looked behind me and I felt maybe there was another Ayo. I said, no, it's you. I said, really? I'm amazing. Say, yes. You're a fantastic public speaker. I said, who, me? Say, yes. We want to come to your office. I said, you're making a mistake. I don't have an office. I do all this cooking in my kitchen. They said, oh my goodness, Ayo, we're coming. I said, no, you don't understand. I don't live on the island. I live in a place called Pangrove. There's a lot of fighting that goes on there. I mean, if you ask the directors of EDC, they'll tell you can't go there. They said, no, Ayo, we're coming. If you can come to EDC, if you could have come on this 10,000 women program, then we're going to come to your house. Mom, that's how they came to my house.
Oh.
The day they came to my house, I thought it was a small thing. I didn't know God had something up his sleeves. And if they said we're going to come at 7:30, I had done, I tidied up the house. My husband tidied up the house. I had one staff, one mama was working with me then. And then all of a sudden, I could hear noise outside. I was like, what's this noise all about? And I saw that there was some sort of some sort of panic outside. And I looked out and I found out that there were policemen all over with guns. I was like, I began to cry that, why is it today that the Americans have chosen to come, the policemen are all over the place? Until I saw my security man, the Baba that watched over our gates, our gates at that time. He was jumping up and down. I saw 3 embassy buses. I saw white men in the buses, and everybody was packed in front of my gates. The policemen had stopped traffic, and they said they were looking for no leftovers. I said, what? I called my husband. I said, look at the crowd. My husband said, this is the Lord's doing. Be calm. Oh my goodness. I felt like Mephibosheth that day. And then I began to panic again. And when I saw them drive in, I looked from my balcony, I saw them drive in. I saw their buses, I saw them bringing out their cameras, I saw them bringing out their lights. There was normally no light at that time at number 79 Shipwell Street. And then I began to panic. I said to my husband, honey, there's no light. We just have this small generator. My husband said, I said, calm down, Ayo. If it's God, if it started, he will finish it. As soon as the first American set foot in the house, Mom, lights came. I screamed. My children screamed, there's light. And the Americans came. There was no need for the generator. NEPA brought lights and they did all the recording. What did they come to record me doing? They came to record me rapping moi moi. It sounded so ridiculous. They interviewed me, interviewed my children. My children said, Mom, you're a star. I said, good. Isaiah chapter 60. Gentiles come to my light, kings to the brightness of my rising. I lift up my eyes and see him, and my heart shares and is enlarged because the abundance of the sea is converted unto me. Oh my goodness. As soon as they finished, Mom, as soon as they left, we saw them off. Light went. Oh my goodness. At that point, I didn't need any more prophets to tell me that God was on my case. So to cut the long story short, I'm going to jump because I know time is against us. That was how it all started. After they left, they sent a letter to me. We want you to come to America. I said, me, come to America. My husband said, stop second guessing yourself. God is on your matter. That's how I went to America, spoke to their AGM, at their AGM. Before I spoke at their AGM, they said to me, Ayo, we have to school you a bit more. We know you're a fantastic speaker, but we're going to tell the director of our press unit to take you through some classes. I didn't know that the sons of strangers were building my walls and kings were ministering unto me. That's how they put me through this training. And then they stood me before at their AGM to speak about my experience. And as soon as I finished speaking, I looked up and I saw a lineup of people waiting to shake me. I said, God, is this a dream? If it's a dream, I don't want to wake up from it. And that's how it continued. from one level to another. I remember getting an invitation, coming to America. Can you afford? Can you give us the time for you to be mentored by Fortune Mentoring Women? Can you give us 3 months of your time? I said, I will give you 1 year if you want. That was how I was taken again to America. Mom, this journey has continued. I remember going to Switzerland, invited for the World Economic Forum, and I'm asking myself, how on earth have I gotten here? I remember at some point after that 3 months mentoring program, they asked me, what do you want? And I knew that what I asked for was going to be very important. God told me, you're like Solomon this time, be mindful what you asked for. I said, I want to go back to university. That's how the search for university started. And I ended up at the Manchester Business School. I remember applying for the program. They said, no, don't worry. You've run your business for all these years. We know you don't have a first degree. We know you did secretarial administration. We're going to skip all of that for you. Come on for your MBA. Mom, that was how God did it. When the bill for the MBA came, the bill was like, I think £7,000 or some amount. I remember how I was so excited sharing the testimony somewhere, and somebody said, you know what? I'm going to pay £5,000 out of this money. The person paid £5,000. I said, God, Gentiles come to my light and kings to the brightness of my rising. And the business continued to grow. I moved the business out of my house. And then at some point I said, God, I want to expand this business beyond this location. I want to get a loan. I went to my bank and I asked for the loan. And they said to me, Ayo, if you have 30%, if you have 70%, we'll give you 30. I said, if I have 70%, I won't be here. I went back home, and then at that point, I got a call that these same people that sponsored you, I asked him if you have been able to access a loan for your business. Again, the Lord said to me, don't lie you. I said, Lord, I will not lie. I said to them, no. I went to my bank and asked for money. They said to me, if I have 70, they'll give me 30. They said, don't worry. We're looking for a woman. They said the mandate that the White House has given us this year is to look for 2 women, one out of the women running your program, out of the women that have gone through your program, one that has been able to access the loan. And we found that woman in Brazil, and another one that has been building her business, built her business bottom up, and have gone to the banks, and the bank has said no to her. And so because the bank has said no to you, Ayo, we want you to come to the White House. Mama, that's what qualified, not by power, not by might. That was what qualified me for the White House. I went to the White House to share my story, and then 2 years later, I was called back. Moi was served at a state dinner. Michelle Obama was to come. I was given the honor of standing on the stage to welcome Michelle Obama. Not only that, no leftovers money was in my hands. I stood in the green room waiting for Michelle Obama to come. I remember my legs were wobbling. And I said, God, if this is a dream, remember, don't wake me up from here. And Michelle Obama walks in. Kings came to the brightness of my rising. She walked in and said to me, Ayo, I've heard so much about you. You are an inspiration. My eyes were laced with tears. I said, God, is this how you do it? And I knew at that time that this breakthrough is not for me. This breakthrough is for me to fulfill that age-long dream that I had of me being a deliverer. God said to me, you will share the story by yourself. You will let people know that with me, all things are possible. That when men say there is a casting down, I will show them that there is a lifting up. And that's why today at 54, I don't feel the way I felt at 40 when I felt hopeless, when I felt that there was nothing good about me. I look up to the hills from whence cometh my help, and I know that this is just the beginning. I'm grateful to God for you, I'm grateful for God for you, Mom. I've watched your steps. I've seen your life, and I know it's possible. I see you in the east of the world. I see you in the west of the world, and I know that this is a woman of like passion, that if God can help her, he can help me. I can see him helping me, and I tell younger women, and I tell other women, he can help you. Hold on to him, follow him, and see his glory rise upon you. In Jesus' name, amen.
In the comment section, Ayo, people are There is a God in such an inspiration. His story is evergreen. He points just like me.
Sorry, Mom, I can't hear you well.
Sorry, I'm just here for sharing this with us. Thank you. I need to put myself together now. Thank you, Ayo. And you're just scratching back. You have inspired a lot of people. Please, are going through domestic abuse or even men. And then we wrap it up tonight.
Sorry, Mom, I didn't hear that.
Take on men or women that are going through domestic violence. What's your advice?
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ma. No human being deserves to be a slave to another human being. God gave us dominion, not over ourselves. He has not called us to oppress anybody, and therefore we must not allow anybody to be oppressed. And so if there's any woman out there, you know in your heart that truthfully, you're being oppressed, you're being abused, seek for help. And if you're a mother, see, thank God, the days are gone that any mother will hear that her child is being abused, her daughter is being abused by her husband, and he will say, because of society state, that those days are gone. It's better to be divorced, to be separated, than to be in the grave before your time. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Sometimes it's not physical abuse, it's emotional. And when it's emotional, you can't be yourself. You don't know who you are. You can't do anything. I'm a product, I can live, I'm alive to tell this testimony because of the great man that God has given me in the person of my husband, who believes in me, who encourages me, who supports me, even when I'm tired, even when I'm not believing in myself, he believes in me. I know women who have who have greater abilities than I do, but because of the trauma they're going through in their relationships, they can't do anything. Listen, God is going to hold anybody who lives below the capacity that he has put in that person. He's going to hold that person accountable. You will not be able to say that it's my husband. So if you're in that position, please seek for help. Don't die in silence. Seek for help. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Just before your final word, some that taught you Edika come up fine and all that. Did you go? Is she aware of what God has done with you?
Did you say is she aware of what God has done to me?
And did you go back to say thank you to her?
Yes, Mama. She's not even the only one. I remember when I started this morning, there was a place where my husband and I will go at 5 a.m. My husband, there will be no lights then. He will hold the torchlight. He will carry the bucket. The two of us will go and grind beans. And we'll get up in the morning and we'll start. After God started blessing me, I went back there. I was a blessing to the woman, not only a blessing to her alone, everybody in that house. I have an evangelism, I call it, so I have different evangelism spaces. So it's one of the places. I have women who I empower. I give them money. They've started businesses. We encourage them. We empower them. We're giving back. I have a clear sense of identity. I'm not in competition with anybody. Even in business, I know that God has lifted me not because he wants me to make money. He wants me to be a woman of impact. The money is coming. I thank God. I thank God for his blessings. But beyond that, and I know that that's why sometimes it takes us through the different routes it takes us through, so that we know that beyond money, there is purpose. And so I thank God for the grace to continue to give back. And I thank God for you, Ma. I know you won't like this. Remember when I was ill? God is faithful. And if anybody is sick here, follow God. He doesn't want anybody to die in sickness. But there are times when he allows us to go through the valley so that he can take us to the mountain. I remember at some valley points in my life, I was sick. I wasn't feeling well, and I encountered you. And how you did it, I don't know if you remember. I remember you said to me, Ayo, no. I want you to travel. And I said to you, Mama, I can't travel now. You remember what you did, Mama? You said, "Get on top. What are you talking about? Give me your account number." And immediately you called your travel agent. How much? You asked me, where do you go in America? I said, I go to Atlanta. That's where my son is. You asked me how much. You asked your travel agent, how much does it cost? And your travel agent told you 700 and some thousand. You cleared out your account. You cleared out your account. You paid for that trip. You invested in me. Thank you. Thank you, Mother. Thank you for being a mother in Israel. I don't know how many women you have, how many lives you have touched like that, but God will continue to honor you. And that is why, even when I don't have anything, I'm ready to drop my last card to be a blessing to others. Because women like you have shown us that when we sow into the life of others, it comes back to us. Good measure, shaking together, pressing down, and running over. God bless you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ayo. You made me cry so much today. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, it's fine. I interviewed Bomsky, and she told me just before I brought her on air that inspired her. Your 1,000 naira story was what inspired her to go start what she's doing today. So I want you to just know that you are inspiring women and men. God bless you. God bless your husband. God bless your grandchildren that are on the way. Thank you for sharing your skin. All of us cry. I of the Lord will preserve you. One last word.
Yes, ma'am. Did you say one last word, ma'am?
Yes, please. So people that are
yes. One last word is that failure is just an experience to take you to the next level. In all of the stories I've told, I've had setbacks. We opened a branch in Abuja. We opened No Leftovers in Abuja, and it was thriving. All of a sudden, something happened. And I had to take a decision. And the first thing that came to my mind is, if you take this particular, I heard what God was saying, but if a sentimental thought came, if you take this decision, what will people say? I quickly shut that voice. What's my business with what people say? That thought came when God told me to go to Corona School. What will people say? Please, I'm begging everybody. If God tells you to do anything, never, ever consider what will people say. Never live your life to please anybody. Live your life in total obedience to God. Live your life because you're convinced that this is the right thing to do and that it will bless you and it will bless humanity. I pray that God will make a way for each and every one of us in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you once. What a grace, what a blessing. God bless you, and please thank your blesses him. Thank you, family, for being a part of this today. By God's grace, on all my platforms, it's been an honor to my global tribe. Have a fantastic week, and God bless you. Thank you, mighty